All right, so welcome back to the Four Elements Press reporting. We have Donald Campbell today, and we are going to be talking a little bit about his run for a local office seat and as a openly gay um,
Hello. Hi.
candidate. We are looking to support all of the LGBTQ people we can on our platform, and Donald definitely has some values that match up with our company, and we want to give him a space to help us learn more about him and the position that he is actively running for. So,
Yeah,
thank you. Here you
yeah,
are.
it's great being here, Alex. You did my podcast, I did yours. So yeah, it's definitely been a ride. I didn't think I would run, and I kind of just happened. So ask me anything you want.
Perfect. So, tell us a little bit about what drove you to run for this seat and actually the specific seat that you're running for and what.
Sure. So I grew up in Atlantic County, New Jersey. Um, and I was born with cerebral palsy. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through my whole life chronologically, but 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 I always was into politics and history and just really fascinated by that stuff. So I was always very interested in that, studied that, went to law school because I need to get a job. And I went to law school in Delaware, Widener University, which is now Delaware Law School. After law school, I wanted to do like disability or special education law. So I started looking for a job because people after school don't just knock on your door and say, "Do you want a job?" So I was I was volunteering on a board at the Center for Independent Living where I work now, and one thing led to another, and they needed a new director. So I threw my name in the hat. I became the director of the Atlantic Center for Independent Living. And if you don't know what Centers for Independent Living are, they are nonprofit community-based organizations for people with disabilities that are dedicated to helping people with disabilities live independently. So we help people learn life skills, help them learn about Medicaid, SNAP, disability rights, all this stuff they need to live independently. So long story short, I've been doing that for 8 years, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of advocacy, a lot of things I care about. And then Trump got reelected. And I was devastated, like many members of our community were. And at the same time, 6 years ago, I came out as gay after um, struggling with my identity for a long time. So I really felt being disabled and gay that I needed to step up. So I reached out to a local advocate and I said, "What more can I do?" And I thought she was going to be like, start a book club or something. But she said, "You could run for office. Do you know that Steve Fulop, who's the mayor of Jersey City, is running candidates?" And I reached out to him because I really liked his platform. He's got a very good record on progressive issues and particularly LGBT rights. So I reached out to him thinking I wouldn't hear back, and he actually emailed me back. And I was like, "Wow, is this the actual Steve Forbes?" I thought it was like spam. And then he called me. So, and then we talked, and he was like, "You should do it. You should run." I'm running for Assembly in Legislative District 9. And Assembly, if you don't know, as Alex said, Assembly is essentially like Congress for the state of New Jersey. So we pass laws, we decide on laws, we're elected every 2 years. It's like the House of Representatives for the state of New Jersey. So we would propose bills, like, things I'm passionate about, protection for transgender people, getting gender affirming care, which is only legal now in New Jersey because of an executive order, which means if we get another governor who doesn't believe in transgender rights, they could easily take that away with the swipe of a pen. So we really need that codified in the actual law to make it harder to get rid of. So those are the issues I care about. And as a person with a disability and who's gay, I really feel like we are on the front lines of these issues. The House of the federal government, the House of Representatives, just passed a horrible bill which cut Medicaid and SNAP benefits and is going to cut Medicare and is pretty much going to do all the bad things that are going to affect our community, be it people with disabilities or people who are LGBTQ plus. So that's why I'm doing it, long story short. And I really believe that if I was ever going to do it, which I always thought about doing it, there's no better time to do it than now, even though it was terrifying and scary, and I still wonder every day why I'm doing it. But I've accepted it, and I do enjoy it for the most part.
Well, on behalf of all of us, thank you for braving this election, especially considering everything going on right now after November. And the bills that have been passed, has that kind of, have you seen a little bit more movement from the community, from the base?
Yeah, I think like after Trump got reelected, I felt like everybody was just like devastated and depressed and like disengaged and almost like done with it. Like, all right, the country's gonna burn, so we're just gonna hide. But
Yeah.
as things have really kicked into gear, I have seen an uptick, and that's my message too. I know it's scary out there, and I'm not gonna tell you I'm not scared because honestly, I'm scared every day. Like, honestly, it is like, and I'm not even like I'm a white gay guy, so I have a lot of privilege that other people won't. I also, as a person with a disability, present in a way that can be very quote unquote, you know, more accepting for people, where a lot of people who are from more marginalized communities can't do it. Like I fit into a nice box that people don't take advantage for it uh, of as much. So I really recognize my privilege that I have, and I want to use that to help people. And I think that don't give up your power either, because we do have a lot of power as a community. And it's not over yet. There's a governor's election if you live in New Jersey. All the assembly seats are up. You gotta vote. I mean, this is like critical. And you gotta get more. I'm gonna say you have to do a little more than vote. That doesn't mean you have to run for office, but you may have to get engaged, go to a rally, go to an event, go to Pride. Pride's coming up. That's very important that they see us as a community. Do the research, learn this stuff. Like, there's nothing that says the country has to stay like this, and there's nothing that says that this has to be our existence. And people, it was a very close election nationally. I mean, Harris lost by couple swings in the vote. A lot of things happened. You had Biden drop out at the last minute. You had racism, sexism, misinformation. Like, there's there's a chance. A lot of people really didn't understand how tariffs work. We're gonna learn how tariffs work. A lot of people really
Yeah.
didn't get that stuff. So a lot of people, unfortunately, and I know it's hard because if you're in this community, it's so obvious to you. But there are a lot of people who it's not as obvious. I've heard all the time, I don't really like Trump, but he's not gonna cut Medicaid. Well, now he is. Like, now he is. Like, oh, he wouldn't do mass deportations without due process. Come on, who does that? Well, actually, he does. And he told you all this, but a lot of people, especially from more privileged backgrounds, they don't see it like that or don't want to acknowledge that or don't want to, whatever the psychology is in that, like, until it's right in front of their face, it really doesn't register. It really doesn't register. So we have to be ready to respond. And there's been a lot of resistance. There's been protests. There's been advocacy. So just get involved, especially if you're in New Jersey. This is our first time to push back. If we get a Republican governor in New Jersey, which very well could happen. The Republicans did very well, and Alex is having a panic attack on the other side of this video, everyone. It which very well could happen. They did very well in the last election, but like everybody goes, "Oh, this is a blue state, this is a blue state." It's getting redder and redder, especially when you live where Alex and I live. Like, you got it. That doesn't mean, I mean, we still won last time. Harris won, and the governor did not go Republican last time. But it is very hard to break after 2 years, after two terms of a governor being Democrat. It usually switches to the next party. So if we're going to break the historical trend, you got to get engaged.
Yeah. Getting out and voting, that is
Yes.
the only thing that will change anything. Getting
Yes.
out and getting on a ballot,
Yes.
running for office. Donald
Yes.
leading us in our in what we have to do as well. So as individuals, we might not have to run, but we need to support those running. We need to go
Right.
vote and talk about who's running and why these things matter.
Right, and I think it's very important for people in our community to understand, especially get involved in primaries, because we tend to be more progressive for obvious reasons. But a lot of times, especially after an electoral defeat, even Democratic candidates tend to want to walk away from our community because they want to compromise or they want to seem reasonable. And I don't want I guess those trans kid relations play in sports, all the stuff that they can kind of moderate to kind of show, they think, you know, our issues, especially the trans community, are too controversial sometimes. And it's very important that we stand up for one, the trans community, stands up for ourselves and get involved in the primaries because these candidates are different on those issues. And if we don't get involved in the whole process all the way through, it's important that we push our issues. Like to me, it is unacceptable if you're a primary candidate and you won't support a law codifying gender affirming care because transgender community is very vulnerable right now, more vulnerable than me as a gay guy. Like they are on the front lines of everything horrible the Trump administration is doing. So it's very important that they get protected. And people
Yeah.
go, well, you live in New Jersey, so no big deal. But if we get a Republican governor, they can take those protections away very quickly.
Yeah. And people in New Jersey would be surprised how quickly.
Yes, they
Talking
will.
about people being able to eat, people being able to live in their home,
Right.
people being able to go to school with
Right.
teachers that are able to handle the class sizes. Like
Right, exactly. It will
these,
affect everything. It will affect everything. These protections, they want to do away with protections that prevent people being outed for their identity at school. Republicans want to do away with that. They want to say if you come out to a teacher, they have to tell your parents. And that's very dangerous for our community. We want them to be able to open up to who they have to open up with to. And it's very important that we get engaged on these issues because it's going to affect disproportionately our community. It is. It just is.
yeah. And in the same, and we have to kind of reframe the discussion around these culture issues that
Yes.
Republicans like to call them, but also they kind of create these issues out of them.
Yes.
Um, that these are human rights.
Right.
We're talking about people's ability to engage in society equally. We're talking about people's human rights. And
Right.
those, if they can be stripped from any portion of us, can be stripped from all of us. And like to permit that, the stripping of rights that you get to feel and enjoy of somebody else, your neighbor, you're taking that away from your neighbor.
Who you may happen to like, by the way. Like people have very weird they do very I mean, they do tricks in their own mind to justify putting horrible people in power. Oh, they're not talking about my gay friend or that trans person I know. Like it's I mean, I have a gay person as a gay person I've had people tell me, I'm perfectly accepting of the gay community, but transgender, I don't know, what is that? And I'm like, no, like as soon as you get done with them, they're gonna come after me. So no, I will defend a person who is transgender because it's just your latest, it picking on gay people kind of fell out of style. So you need a new a new a new boogeyman to go after while you're jamming tax cuts for the rich down everybody's throat. So no, I'm not falling for that trick, and it's important that our community doesn't either. So
Yeah.
because they do try to divide us. They do try to divide
Yeah,
us.
it's a strategy.
Yes.
And it's a strategy that is kind of getting past the logic that we use to explain our gayness to straight people.
Yes.
Like, you're born this way.
Yes.
There's no, like, it just is what it is, and you
Right.
live your life with whatever challenges or privileges that comes with.
Right. And what you said, Alex, is so critical about how we really need to go on the offense and like reframe these issues. Like it's not a like I can't. People are like, I remember being somewhere and somebody going, "Well, I don't want to talk about these cultural issues. I want to talk about economic issues." Like the ability to be myself is an economic issue because if I can't be myself, then it's hard for me to get a job and work and
Get a job.
contribute
Yes.
to and contribute to society. So like we need to not, and it's always told from the perspective of some uncomfortable straight parent somewhere and like, oh, I don't want my kid to be on a sports team with somebody with a transgender identity, but it's never talked about the suicide rates of the transgender community, the depression rates, the anxiety of our community, and how being part of something brings that down. Like it's always told from, oh, I may have to read see a book I don't like. Like you'll be okay. Trust me. LGBT people are uncomfortable all the time. We seem to be able to we do okay. It's just again, people will say that, well, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Like all hello, like my whole childhood was feeling uncomfortable. And it would have made me feel a lot better if somebody said, hey, here's a book about a gay kid. Like it wouldn't have been the end of the world. It's not the end of the world for your kid to see that in this classroom. I had to see things all the time in a classroom that made me feel uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
like when people talk about, oh, I don't want Disney to have, openly LGBT characters. Like, but they push heterosexual characters all the time. And like that makes made me uncomfortable as a kid because I knew something was off. Or was told something was off. So it's just odd how it gets framed very, very, very clearly. And it's important that we stand up for ourselves and say, wait a minute, we exist too.
Yeah. And like I use this when I talk to people sometimes, and I don't try to. I haven't, you know, you can't really try to convince people to think otherwise, but
Yes.
like
Yep. You
one of
have
the
to.
things I just peek in people's minds is like we're never going to get to a point where you're a straight person living in a gay world.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Like it's always going to be a straight world. We're like 1% of the
Right,
population.
right. We're never gonna overwhelm you.
We're just saying like we exist, we're here, we want the same opportunities you have.
Right. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying. We want to be happy. We want to exist like you do. And like, you don't have to understand it. You just have to give us this raise. You don't have, and trust me, you're not going to understand it because you've never had that experience. I don't understand the trans experience, but I don't go, oh, because I don't understand it, I want to take it away or make somebody's lives harder for people. It's just, it makes no sense. I always hear people say, "Oh, if my kid came out as trans, I wouldn't allow this or that." And it's like you have no idea what you would do. Only those people who've been through that experience know what they'll do. Like, and okay, you don't know what you'll do, or you would do something else, but don't take away somebody else's right to do what they need to be happy. Like, I just, I just don't. I don't operate like that. It's so weird. Like I feel like our mentality as a community is like we just want everybody to be able to live their lives. Even people I like radically disagree with. Like when I went to my first Pride event, there were these people protesting, like three people with their hateful signs, and I'm like, you know what? Whatever, I'm gonna live my life. I don't like what they're saying. I wouldn't want the government to come in and like put them in prison because I know like I can't be free unless they're free. So I'm like, all right, go with your dumb signs. Like, it's like, but they would lock me up or you up or any of our friends up, and like it would like be so quick, and
Yeah.
it's just very revealing. Like it's very revealing. So just
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to be engaged because they're engaged. They're engaged. The people
Oh,
who
yeah.
wish you harm are very engaged. Are very
Yeah, they're not gonna stop.
engaged.
They're not gonna stop.
No, they never miss an election, it seems. They never they never miss an election.
And so also I wanted to see what are you really interested in the needs that you kind of see in South Jersey, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I do think like for me, it's not only of course protecting our most vulnerable communities, but also, you have to address issues like the cost of living, housing, and transportation, and just the basic everyday life issues that you need to do. And, the cost of living is so high in New Jersey, and that's because we have so many layers and layers of government that it's very inefficient. We have, you know, you know, everybody's got a mayor. There's towns over here. We have over 500 municipalities, and you need some consolidation, which makes people uncomfortable. But the truth is, if you want lower property taxes, you need less. Everybody can't have an emergency department. Like you need to consolidate a lot of services. Housing, same thing. I'm very passionate about. The reason why housing's so high is because there's not enough housing. So you have to give people more housing. You have to uh, build more housing, build more affordable housing, and that's the only way to bring the costs down. And that's what I would be focused on too. Transportation is something I'm real passionate about because if you can't get transportation as somebody with a disability, you really can't go anywhere. And in South Jersey, it's very hard because we have very little public transportation. So, Mayor Steve Fulop always talks about uh, there's this widening project that's costing $1 billion up in Hudson County. That's like a waste of money. We can stop doing that and reappropriate the money down here for transportation for South Jersey. We also just need to look into more things like partnerships with Lyft and Uber for reduced ride share. I mean, why can't they team up with public transportation and come to areas like this to get people? So and this is where having my work does come in and have because when you work with disability and you have a disability, you're on the front lines of all these issues. Like these are the issues that people are coming to you with. So I'm always very fascinated with what we do. And then we need to restructure the tax code so it doesn't favor the super rich. I mean, I got no problem really with people making money, but you can't have a society that's just completely tilted towards the super rich. And if we did some things on the higher end, we could get 4 billion extra dollars in revenue, which we can, do to fill in some of these gaps the federal government is leaving behind, or expand the child tax credit or the earned income tax credit, which would give working people a break and those on the lower side of the economic scale a break. So there are a lot of things we can do that I'm really passionate about. And part of the reason why I'm running with Steve is because I feel like he's a progressive, but he's also willing to challenge the system. Um, that's why he's running candidates like me to bring more people into the process. So I just think that, you know, I'm a Democrat, but the Democratic Party as it currently stands now is would really need to reassess because the last election didn't go well. We're completely out of power. So we got to see why we're not connecting with people. You can't just yell at people and say, we should be connecting with you. So, we have to look at like, why did Trump win? Like, why did that appeal to people? And part of my theory on him, because it's hard because as somebody, and I think a lot of people listening to this who find him so obviously unappealing, it's hard to think of like why anyone would find him appealing. But there's a lot of people who are really frustrated with the system and feel like he came off as being against the system. Now, I don't buy that. I don't agree with that, but that's what they feel. So you have to capture that sentiment and make sure people understand that no, it's the Democratic Party who we want to challenge the system. I had people telling me Trump is going to go after rich people. I'm like, that's nonsense. But it's like he's very good at deception and and deceiving people. He'll say like, I'm not going to cut Medicaid, and like then he'll go and cut Medicaid. He did for this.
Actually signing the bill, but
Yeah, the tax bill, he did say, oh, we should raise taxes on the rich. They didn't do that at all, but he throws it out there. So people are like, oh, did you hear he said that? So it's just like, it's very important that that we don't be afraid as people on the left, progressives, whatever you want to call it, to like reassess what didn't go wrong. We can't just go, let's go do the same thing again and see what happens. It didn't work. It did not work. It did not work. Did not.
have you seen any? like outreach or movement among young voters because
Ye-
that seems to be an area of lacking.
Yeah, I know. That's a great point, Alex. Because you and I'm always like, how long can you and I say we're the young people? Like, how many years do we
I
have?
mean, I think as long as the Democratic Party considers us young,
Yes, yes.
so
Which means we have till about 70. So,
yes,
so,
literally,
but that's the problem too. And again, it's funny because I've been asked this question sometimes. I'm sure you have. How do you get more young people? And it's like, well, one, young people don't buy that you guys are really against corporations. They don't buy that you're really for change. They don't like it's about the message and your messengers. And like it's not just about like Alex can go get a few young people, but like the message has to convey to young people. Like they have to feel like they're a part of something real. Like
yeah,
just saying you need to be involved because you're a young person. And believe me, I think you need to be involved because I'm totally with this in terms of I think you have a responsibility to do it. I think that, especially in a vulnerable community, you have to stand up for yourself. I totally agree with people who say, you have to take responsibility too. I'm just saying that's not enough and that's not working to get more people involved. Obama got more young people involved because he had an exciting message. They were for it. He took on the system. He took on Hillary. He took on
he had a progressive
yeah,
message.
he had a progressive message. He wanted to get rid of exorbitant donations. Like he had things that excited. Bernie's like 307 years old, and he brings in a ton of young people because he likes their message. And by the way, I'm not just talking about super progressive people. Pete Buttigieg is more moderate. He's good at this. Like you got to be able to engage people and have an exciting message that they can get. If you want people there. You can't just run the same people. You can't just run the same message. And you can't just scold every young person. You mean because they don't they're cynic. Think about a young person, and I'm a little older. I'm like 35. So I graduated high school in 2008, and we landed right into the Great Recession, right after the Iraq War, right? But like if you're a young person, but there was Obama, so there was like some hope. But like if
Yeah,
you're a young person now, if you graduated in like 2020, you've experienced in the pandemic racial reckoning that backslided, like hope for a while and now we're backsliding. Um, just total despair, Trump getting reelected, like Bernie getting sidelined by the DNC. Like you have a lot of things in your head that make you want to check out and be like, you know what? You have social media giving you an anxiety attack every 5 seconds. Like Democrats are up against a lot, and if they think just playing the same old playbook is going to work, it's not going to work. And you have to be willing to criticize your own party a little bit, and it doesn't make you a bad Democrat or or say you want anyone to lose. I always say in New Jersey, I'm going to support every Democrat, even if it's not me or Steve who wins the nomination, because they will be better for my community, even if they're not as good than any Republican would be on their best. On their best, that's just a fact. That's just a fact. So I am very practical, but. But even when people say things like, before a primary starts, like we have to consolidate between one candidate or another, that's not fair. Primaries are good. They bring people in. Let people have an argument. Let people disagree. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. We'll get through it.
it'll actually make us
Yeah,
stronger.
we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So that's what I would say to my Democratic friends is you gotta embrace the change. You gotta see what's working. I mean, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talks about how she got people who voted for Trump to vote for her. Again, we can look at that and inform people and go, what's going on there? But if you talk to those people, they'll go, well, I feel like they're both challenging the system. Like they believe that. So,
Yeah.
so like you have to, like there's
It's
something there.
perception. Like politics is perception. And
Yeah, politics
once
is
people get a
perception.
perception,
Yes, and politics is all people can have very contradictory beliefs. I saw people on the news who are like, I'm pro-choice, I voted for Trump. They're like people are very like they may not make sense to you and I sit there and have, it takes everything I have not to scream. But like, again, yelling at voters doesn't work. And you gotta understand what's making them tick. And and see if you can connect. And that's why when Alex talked about like a universal message about LGBT rights, like I want you to be free too. Let me be for you to be free. I need to be free. So like we don't have to agree. You don't have to marry who I want to marry. You'll be okay. Like, but you have to be okay with saying that. And sometimes Democrats are just running the same playbook. And I fear they're doing it again, but I hope they rethink it a little bit. I hope they rethink it a little bit. It's a lot of time, guys. It's a lot of time. There's a lot of time.
And I had another question for you too. We hope you win, and we need you fighting for us in the assembly. Um, has our district kind of historically been like who's holding the seat now?
Oh yeah, so right now it's Brian Rump, and I actually forget the other guy's name. But it's a very Republican district, and you can look up New Jersey legislative and look up District 9. It's probably the most Republican district out there. Ocean County is the most Republican county. So like I'm not gonna lie, it is a total uphill climb, and it is if you were if you were like strategically picking a race to run in, you would be like, not this one. In fact, when I told people I was thinking that the first thing they'll say is, you know how red that area, like we don't live here, Alex. They'll be like, you know how red that area is? Like, no, I'm aware. But you don't know what can happen in politics, and things look impossible until they happen. Everybody says blank, insert your person here. Blank won't win until they win. So, and it's important to even run when you don't win because that's what gets people engaged and gets the community engaged. I mean, it's so cool. The nicest compliment I get is when people are like, I'm so happy to see an openly gay person running. I'm so happy to see a person with a disability running. Like I had people say my son's got a disability and it's like cool that you're doing this. Like I'm like, okay, I could lose the race a bazillion to none. And like that's enough because you don't know who you're inspiring or who you're motivating in the
Yeah.
future. So just just if you support me, that's great. Support your candidate and don't worry so much about. I mean, I'm not gonna say don't worry about. I obsess about this stuff and like the polling and all this kind of stuff. But just let things play out. Just let things play. We've seen it's funny. Everybody says again, this person's gonna win, and then that's not what happens. So and look at what's happening on a daily basis. The economy looks like it's in a downturn. Trump is deciding random things at random moments. Like I do think there's a lot of people. Of course, there's his hardcore supporters that no matter what he does, he can drive them off a cliff. They'd be like, "This is the nicest cliff ride I've ever been on." But there are a lot of people who voted for him who were just like, I wanted prices to go down, and I was tired of I just wanted prices to go down and didn't know what else to do. Again, I didn't buy it. Alex didn't buy it. It was kind of obvious that wasn't going to happen. But like those people are not the same as your person with 8 front flags on their lawn. Like those people are not, or they're not the same. They're not the same. And I know it's very tempting sometimes to want to write off everybody, and I understand when you're in a marginalized community, especially that anger you feel, because you're like, I don't understand how people can just vote for me not to have freedom.
And also, I think kind of the privilege of living in New Jersey,
Yes,
gives a lot of maybe potential Trump voters a disillusion of what the rest of the country is like.
exactly.
A
And
real
also,
hate inside of the the base that Trump really tries to
right. And
use.
I think you're right. And I even think some people who maybe voted for Trump, who but like aren't his biggest fans are like, well, I live in New Jersey, so I don't have to worry about abortion rights. Or, like it's weird. Like I see this out there. There are people I'm like, okay, we agree on 9 things, but you're voting for this guy because and then they'll have some weird like scenario how like really it will be fine because like you said, that privilege of like just carry the one and deduct the two and somehow Trump will secretly be more progressive than Harris ever would have. Like it's just the things people do to justify it. And I think Alex, especially if you're in an area like ours, there's just a lot of peer pressure too. I don't know if you've seen like a lot of people
Prob-
to just like openly like it's a lot easier to just go when you see 8 Trump flags there and you're like some white guy who's like 22 years old to be like, yeah, I like him too. Like, it's just like a lot easier because it's like, why would I put myself out there? And again, and like, when you're in a more marginalized community, you feel exposed all the time. So like I always think people are like, oh, you guys stand up for yourself all the time. It's like, yeah, because we have to. I really would like not to, actually. Like, I really would like to do what you guys seem to do, which is like chill and not worry about whether they'll overturn the right to gay marriage. Like, no, you're never worried about, hey, if that election, if they elected Harris, they're gonna come after my right to marriage. Like, you don't worry about that. And same thing with the trans community at an even deeper level. Like, you don't have to worry about if you're some Republican straight male your medications being denied or you being demonized at school. Like, it's just the perception is so off. And it's hard for me not to understand why people don't have empathy, but it's harder for people. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think we'll ever know.
No, no. People are weird. I always go back to that. People are just strange. They can have people they love that are in the disability community and vote for somebody who cuts them out. Like people have all kinds of weird, and then they'll still say I still love that person. A lot of them, like it's just very people have different ways of justifying things. And it's not your responsibility as a transgender person or as a gay person to always figure that out. You just have to live your life and be strategically. I'm not going to say don't push back, but know your environment, know when you can, and know because if there's people you love that have all kinds of wacky beliefs probably, and but some of them really don't get it. And sometimes you do have, I know it's annoying, and I totally get that this is because a lot of people are like, you do the research yourself. And I get that. I totally get wanting people to do more. But like realistically, what got the right to gay marriage was gay people being like, no, this is what's really gonna happen when we get married. Like, let me explain to you how this will have no effect on your life whatsoever. Like, we won that fight. We're having some backsliding now, but we really it took us talking to people we love and us putting ourselves out there, which it shouldn't. I'm just being real with people that it does.
Yeah. And it took states to stand up to the federal government and say,
Yes.
we're this is part of our constitution.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And to even because it was again, it was especially if younger people are listening to this, like it was a radical idea at the time for there to be a federal education. Like that was like that's never gonna happen. Stop talking. Democrats, even Obama, when he was running, would not come out in favor of gay marriage. Like people
Yeah.
forget all this stuff, and there was Don't Ask, Don't Tell, banning gay people from openly serving in the military. That was only repealed in like 2009, 2010, which wasn't that long ago. So
Yeah. And they're trying to take healthcare away from trans
yes,
members. So it's
yes,
like
yep.
we're right back there.
They don't want trans people to serve in the military for reasons they can never quite explain. Despite the fact that everybody relax, I'm gonna have take a breath, everybody. There are already trans people serving in the military, and it went fine. Like
Yeah.
nobody was put in any danger. And again, when you're trans in the military, you still have to work very hard. You don't just get to walk in and go, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with this gun. And they just say, oh, you're like, these are the myths that people have that like there's no standards and it's just nonsense. It is nonsense. Trans people, their whole life are used to fighting, make great soldiers and meet the requirements. And if they want to serve the country, the question should be, where can they sign up? Not,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that. It just blows my mind. It blows, and they said the same thing about gay people, by the way, that we would
Yeah.
ruin the whole military, that people wouldn't know what to do, that the military would crash into the ocean if gay people were in the room, and nothing happened. And by the way, go back further, they said the same thing about black people, said the same thing about women serving. They always, it's the same game. They always put, they just insert a new thing. They insert a new thing because they end up losing that battle, in the long run. But there's no guarantee that they lose battles. You have to push back. You have to push back because it's not. written that they'll lose the battle. It was people making sure they lost the battle. It was people making the argument because they are ridiculous arguments. They
Yeah.
are ridiculous. There's no factual basis to them.
Yeah, and I think even when people like think about it a little bit, they kind of fall on their own logics.
Right, yes, yes.
And
Well, they'll be like, I
then
want
it's like the
people.
embarrassment and they can't explain it, why they believe it. So it's like they kind of,
And I think what also happens, and this is why being open is so important and coming at, and believe me, I'm not saying if you're struggling with doing that, you got to do it when you're ready and when you're comfortable. But it's really hard to hate on people who you know. Like it really is. It really does. There, of course, there are going to be people who their whole life is just hating people. The people at the rally that I mentioned probably never going to change. Like it's just, if you're going to go to a pride rally, who goes to a pride event to protest? Like how boring are you? But but anyway, but like but for like your average person who just doesn't understand, like meeting a transgender person is very effective because they're like, oh, I like that person. That's not what, the Ben Shapiro podcast told me or whatever it is. Like it just
that's that's kind of the simplest idea and yeah, probably the most effective too.
Yeah, and that's why what you do, Alex, writing books is such important advocacy and activism because when people are like, if I see myself in that gay character or I see myself in that transgender character, even if that's not their experience, like they connect with them and it builds empathy. And
Yeah.
that's why it is important to have, um, you know, to talk about our communities and schools. We're not trying to indoctrinate anybody. It just makes you a better empathetic human being.
Yeah.
And you just, learn that there are other people out there that exist, which helps you because you're gonna have something with you that is easy to ostracize. So again, I always said the disability community, the LGBT community, we're just trying to help everybody out. We really are trying to make your lives easier. We're trying our best.
So I locally have seen some flags be taken down on some streets,
Yes.
um, which Trump flags, which
Right, right. That's,
very interesting.
yes.
So it could be a good sign for Ocean County in
It
general,
could. It
hopefully.
could. It could because that means people are getting a little shy about it. A little shy about it because and that's good. So we could, like I said, political winds can change. So
And even if maybe they're not ready to vote for a Democrat like you, maybe they're ready to not vote.
yes, yes, exactly. And that's you're exactly right, Alex. People change. And I grew up before I came out, I was more conservative. I grew up in a very conservative house. Like people allow people to change too. Like, if somebody's saying I voted for Trump, but I'm thinking about this and I am starting to change, like don't just beat the crap out of them. Be like, okay, come on, like good, you're thinking about it, like, because that means that they could have gotten swept up in misinformation. They could have had a family member that was really pushing it. Like again, no excuses. People have to be accountable for what they thought. But like people are allowed to also change. They are allowed to change. And anybody who's listening to this knows if you're in a marginalized community, you go through all different phases. So if if you're taking your flag down, if sometimes I'm always like, if I can't get you not to vote for Trump, can you just not vote? Or can you, like that's a win to me. Like, can I just get? I'll come back and try and push you over completely to my side maybe next time. But like, can I just vote third party or like because if I can get you off of Trump. That's a success.
Yeah.
That's a success. So, and it's hard for people to automatically right away, like one day be a super hardcore Trumper and then the next day be a ultra progressive. Like there's progression. People
Yeah.
think they have to like be, but if they're starting to open up a little bit, like work with that. Work with that. Work with that. Work
Yeah.
with that. And I know it's hard. I'm not saying any of this is easy because again, when you're in a marginalized community, you're like, this is so obvious.
I
This is so obvious that, that this is not what it is. But it's we have to be idealistic and practical at the same time. Because if we're waiting for everybody to be perfect, we're gonna be waiting for for a very long time. We're just gonna be waiting.
Yeah.
Especially, and I think that that is one benefit to living in like Ocean County and stuff is because you see it and you're like, I can't not have any, I can't, if I'm gonna win, I need to have relationships with, I need to have be able to persuade people who disagree with me and talk to people who disagree. It's just the reality. So you need to figure out a way to do that and give people chances to grow.
So, well, where can we see you in the next month? Are you
So I will be at Barnegat Pride on the 30th. I think Alex will be there
the
too.
31st?
31st. There we go. I was like 30th, 31st. And that's next week. And I will also be I have a Facebook page. If you look up LD Democrats for Change, I have an Act Blue if you want to donate. I know I have um very anti-money in politics, but the reality is in order to get elected to change the law and to get money out of politics, you need to have money to get your message out. Like it is very frustrating because honestly, I think money in politics is not a healthy thing. But it's also the reality of the thing. So if you're interested, please donate and don't overstress yourself. I'm not saying I don't want you to not eat because you gave me $50 or something. But that's possible and reach out. You can volunteer if you can't donate. There are a lot of volunteer. We're doing phone banking now as a campaign, which is easy. All you have to do is click and the phone rings and like it leaves voicemails for everybody. You don't even have to do the voicemails. And if somebody answers, there are literally a script and prompts of the script, like "Hello, your name is." So it's very,
Yeah.
very easy. And then just really, I would love for more people to get involved. And please vote. And
June
please
5th, right?
please, if you're in our community, like this is a critical time. And again, I always like to do this. If you're like listening to Alex's awesome podcast and like struggling with your identity, just hang in there. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just society that makes you feel that something's wrong with you. There's nothing unnatural about you or not normal about you or whatever the verb is that's going on in your negative thought in your head. It's just been put there by ignorant people and also people with agendas to push their own powers. So, so just get involved and uh, trust yourself. Be yourself. Don't trust the noise around you because it is noise. And go to Pride. Go to Pride. If you're going to be stressed out by social media, use it for something fun and accepting. And they are
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Please come by. Um, visit Donald at will you be at the Great Bay Dems?
Yeah, I was gonna go swing by there. I'm gonna be there. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hang out. And let's find out Alex's plans. What is Alex doing?
So that'll be, well, Barnegat Pride, definitely we will be there. As for Elm Express, we will be at Tom's River Pride as well. I'll have a link with all those dates from a previous article. Tom's River, June 14th, I believe. The 20th and 21st, or 21st and 22nd,
Yes.
Seaside Pride. So you
Come bother Alex. Come hang out with me and Alex at these events.
yeah.
And if you like this podcast, and always support Alex's podcast because it's awesome. Subscribe if you haven't. It gave me all my pride information. I'm like, this is very
Oh,
helpful.
perfect.
This is very helpful. I needed this in my life right now.
Thank you. Yeah. The information changes pretty quickly, I found out too. So
Right, right. And you don't have to go to everything. I always say too, like I just go to one and enjoy
yeah.
it. You'll feel good about yourself because you'll be surrounded by people who make you feel that way.
Yeah.
So,
And then all of them I think have more organizations to connect with too for different services, for different events. So I know Barnegat Pride, they do the drag bingo every once in a while. So
right. Right, and I know, especially if you live in a more conservative area, you can feel like like sometimes I make the joke like I'm the only gay person where I live, but you're not. Like there are other people. There are other people here. You know, it's just you got to know where to find your people. So, and that's what's great about Pride is it gives you a central location
Yeah.
to to be. So, thank you for having me, Alex. Anything else?
Thank you for being here. No, just everyone reach out to the people in your life. Let them know about Donald if they are able to vote for him, and then bring them to the Pride. We're
Yeah, bring them. Have fun. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Donald. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.